Speaking of which, I don't even know if that's really in the news cycle anymore. Is it? Is it still in a news cycle? It's not on the trending, but this guy, I was talking to some friends about the Titan and just kind of learning about getting into the mindset of this guy. Did you know that he actually flew? There were two people. Okay, so CNN had a report where there were two guys that were supposed to be on the Titan who backed out at the last minute.
Yeah, two billionaires from Las Vegas.
Right. Did you see that story? How they were like, the first thing they noticed was this guy flew up to them on an experimental plane. He's kind of reckless when you think about it. Like, this is a pretty reckless guy. I don't know if Stephen
Rush was reckless, but he was pushing the limits. And, you know, we need people like Stephen Rush, because Stephen Rush, through tragedies like this last one, push science forward.
Regulations forward as well.
Yes.
Which a lot of people were calling for.
Well, and I really, it's an unfortunate thing that happened, but it's going to make travel to 13,000 feet below much safer for people in the future.
That's true, because now that he's basically killed himself and all these people, now we're going to get, because this was unregulated. And, you know, I know some people are against regulations. I know, I think, honestly, I really do think smarter people have some sort of moral responsibility to help and protect people who aren't as smart. And there are people who would literally just kill themselves doing stupid things if it weren't for the law and regulations forcing them to have safer equipment and things like that.
And Bart, I'm kind of probably on the opposite end of that.
I know you are.
I think that you should have the right to do stupid things. I mean, and when we look at Stephen Rush, what he did now looks like he was stupid, but obviously he believed in it enough to get on that and be the pilot of that boat himself.
I know, but plenty of people believe in stupid things. Here's the thing, say for instance, with air travel, right? Would you, now, the people who got talked into going on this boat, you know, I wouldn't say strong-armed, but, you know, maybe sold. They were sold on the safety. That was one of the things. People were concerned about safety. And just because you believe something doesn't mean it's actually safe. You know?
They didn't have, no one forced them to get on it. I mean, if I had that, I've been fascinated with the story of the Titanic for as long as I can remember. I remember when the new National Geographic articles first came out in 1985, I read all of them. And if I had had that opportunity to get on that, I would have done it.
All right, check this out. So let's go back to this. Let's go back to the submersible. People believed him that it was safe. These are people who weren't experts in their field. He was an expert, but he was told by other experts not to do it because it wasn't safe.
But I bet you have. So right now,
I don't think
these guys from Las Vegas are wanting to say, "Oh yeah, it was dangerous, and we had all of these concerns." But I bet you could find a whole bunch of papers that are from other professionals who say, "You know what? We think that this is going to be totally fine." Otherwise,
all signed by that one guy.
Well, I don't think that any one person is going to say, "Well, I'm going to build it out of carbon fiber and it's going to be safe."
That's the thing. No one in the industry supported that carbon fiber, and the carbon fiber was repurposed it was used from Boeing, so it was already possibly stressed.
Well, I bet you the people who did sign off and say it was okay have now disappeared.
Probably, fair point. But and so was the captain, and those people who went on the ship, they're gone too. I mean, I don't even know if they've confirmed that they actually have remains or not. But the thing is that I think here's where I'm going to push back. I think regulation is needed to temper crazy. I think there are crazy people. There are people, and he knew that. The very fact that he had them signing this giant waiver was basically like people were explaining it 10 different ways you can die. He knew it was possible. He knew it was experimental. But the thing is you're willing to risk your life. That's one thing. But don't charge people $250,000 and tell them it's safe, and then have them sign this thing, and then now they're gone. I think that's the difference. And I think we have a responsibility to protect people. To make, like for instance, if I'm in a car, I want to know that car's safe, don't you? To protect you and your family, because your family didn't. They agreed to get in the car because you're driving. Mm-hmm. But what if that car is not safe because someone in the government's like?
I think it's different though when you're talking about experimental stuff. For example, if you're traveling to the moon or this space travel by Bezos or Musk or whatever, there is so little research done on that compared to collision tests and airbags and everything else. So when you're on the cutting edge of pretty much anything, there are mistakes that happen. And science, engineering, all advance because of that sacrifice.
Do you think that he was being a little bit
cavalier
in the terms that he's using? No one uses carbon fiber in that application. That's just unheard of. And he didn't properly even test it. A proper testing would be to build a tube, send it down 100 times and see what happens. He didn't do that. But
he'd been using this for a long time.
Right. So, but here's the thing. In aviation, let me give you a good example. Mm-hmm. With the forces that act on the airplane, those airplanes need to be inspected every time and tested before in the design process, so it's proven to be safe. Mm-hmm. People, just because he's cavalier doesn't mean that everyone else wants to practice that same level of, arrogance and thinking that I think he sold them on the idea that it was safe. There were people who backed out. He was sued by a former employee, and other people were telling him it wasn't safe, and he ignored them. And I think when you have all these scientists and people who are looking at the structure, and when you ignore that, I think that proves something about you as a person. Why not say, okay, you know what? Let me take another look at this. Let me do some more testing. Let's bring it through some more. They had agencies that were ready to test it. Did you know that?
I didn't.
They had agencies that were willing to test it, but he didn't want to get it tested. And guess what? Because he knew that he could operate in international waters where he didn't need testing and oversight, he decided to do that. I think that's messed up. What do you? Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
I still don't.
You're gonna stick with that?
But then I espouse more of a libertarian perspective. I think that inherent in freedom is the willingness to allow people to make decisions that ultimately might result in self-harm.
Look at let's look at air travel today.
Yeah,
we know air travel is the safest form of traveling. Period.
Yep.
Right. Do you feel good about that, knowing that it's been tested and that
I'm still more scared to do that than drive?
Really?
Yes.
Well, maybe because you don't have the information on it.
No, I've read it. I have enough information, but
okay.
I like being in control.
You know that airplanes, the redundancy in airplanes is ridiculous. When I started studying aviation, that's when I realized how safe it was. We'll go years without an accident.
Yeah.
On the road, there's several people who've died today already.
Yeah.
So I think even though cars are a lot safer, well, you're on the ground, so you feel safe. I think there's an illusion of safety, but the fact is you're much more likely to die in a car.
Oh, I agree.
In an airplane. And you're much more likely to die in a submersible built of carbon fiber than in an airplane.
If it had been built out of titanium or something else, they probably would have been way better off.
Exactly, and that's what they were arguing. The fact that I don't know if he was cutting corners.
Well, it's also the shape of it, too. I mean, the shape of it was wrong. I mean, the best shape would be a sphere getting 6,000 pounds per square inch.
Right,
I mean, equally.
Right, and then considering carbon fiber is not known for tensile strength that I know of, the strength, pulling, the ability to withstand pulling. That's what steel's good for. But carbon fiber is just pieces, it's like paper, man. It's like hard paper. it's harder than steel, but it doesn't have the tensile strength of steel, and I think that's an issue. And I think that's where look at the result. As soon as they pulled that submersible up, they could tell right away it was the carbon fiber that failed.
Yeah.
And they told him what would happen. Matter of fact, one of the billionaire's sons, I don't know if he's an engineer or what, but 48% of billionaires are engineers. They come from engineering background. Wow. He looked at it and he thought it was unsafe. He did his research and he was like, "This thing's unsafe," and he decided not to go.
I think they said some of the equipment that was in there was like from Harbor Freight or something like that. So I mean, there's definitely different things that he could have used, but
this guy. I mean,
I will say that I do appreciate the fact that he was willing to get it himself and be the captain.
He should have gotten
every time.
Yeah, he should have gotten in by himself and just left it at that.